Is it possible to improve your birdsong skills and enjoy a mindfulness practice at the same time? It sure is. Today, we're going to focus on one aspect of bird vocalizations at a time in order to hone our capacity to listen to unique elements that make certain bird songs their own, and also those elements that are shared amongst various species. Join me today for this rich practice. Hey there, if you're new here, my name is Kristi, and I help people connect more deeply to birds and nature while elevating their skills, boosting their confidence, and helping them to fall more in love with life. If that's something that you'd like to do, please consider subscribing and sticking around. All right, let's get started. We'll start off today with what we're going to practice. And first, it's a question for you all. So when I say the word quality, like what are the qualities of bird vocalizations? What are some qualities that come to mind? And you can just shout them out if you want to take yourself off of mute. So what are some bird song qualities or bird vocalization qualities? What do you think, Linda? Let me give you the little button here. There you go. And anyone else can throw out ideas.
Timbre or tone color, whether it's a rich or screechy,
There you go. So yeah, let's find words like this. So screechy.
Like rough or smooth.
Rough or smooth, good. What was the other one you had, Julia? Screechy and what else?
Rich color.
Rich, okay, rich color, yeah.
I'm thinking like I hear a robin singing right now.
Yeah, so rich color, that's good.
Kind of a thicker.
Yeah, nice, thicker, scratchy. What else people said or want to say? Let me try and give you that button again. There you go.
Resonance.
How resonant. Yeah, so it's resonant. Okay, that's a good one. Nice. Resonant. What else?
Clear.
Clear. Good. Nice. Yep. Anyone else?
I was thinking like slurred, like when you mentioned the catbird earlier, they have kind of this slurry sound, they don't sound quite right the whole time.
Yeah. Slurred is good. That's good. Yep. Slurred. So it could be like raspy, it could be loud or quiet, soft. It could be insect-like. There's all sorts of words we can come up with to describe bird vocalizations. And so that's what we're going to do this morning. We're not necessarily coming up with words, but we're going to be looking for different qualities on the landscape. So our job or goal this morning isn't to figure out who it is. You, of course, can do that because I think our brains are probably going to want to do that anyway. But instead, we're going to focus on one quality at a time. So we'll center ourselves first, get ourselves grounded, and then we'll allow whatever the first quality that you hear to be the number one quality. So you don't have to do that one yet, but after we've done our grounding, I'll ask you to find a quality, and then we will change the quality. So don't worry about like, oh no, I wanted to get this one instead of that one. We'll go through a number of different qualities throughout the practice this morning, okay? So get yourself nice and settled. Most of you are outside, some inside, that's good. Okay, if you are inside, then because we're going to be listening, make sure you have a window that can be open if possible. We can do this with human-made sounds too. This certainly can be applied to human-made sounds if that's all you have. All right, so why don't we start with our eyes closed if you feel like you're in a safe spot. If not, you can just keep your eyes open, or if you just prefer to have your eyes open, you can keep them open. And just notice your body right now. What's standing out to you right now? Is it the parts of you that are soft and open and excited, or more the parts of you that might be tense, maybe nervous, achy? And just see what's calling to you right now. Now take a moment to notice your breath. See if you can tap into the rhythm of your breath. Following it as it enters your nostrils, that first touch of air as it touches your nostrils, and then follow it down into your lungs and see where it travels. And we'll do that for a couple of breaths right now. Good work. And now on your next breath, allow yourself to expand as deeply and fully as you possibly can. So taking a really full and deep, big breath. And then when you get to the point of exhale, letting it out fully and completely. And do that a couple of times. Bringing yourself into this moment, asking yourself, am I present? Am I here right now with my body, with this space, with all of us here together? All we have to do is just be present right now together. No other jobs, unless you have one, then you should probably be doing that. But you've given yourself this time. So let yourself just settle in and be present in this moment. Now go ahead and notice your toes. So bringing your attention to your toes and then to your soles of your feet and your heels, just feeling where they're touching the ground. And maybe that's through socks, through shoes, through carpet, but maybe you have your feet right on the earth. Whatever it is, just knowing that the earth is beneath you. See if you can connect with the earth herself right now, noticing that relationship you have from the soles of your feet to the earth right now. Can you tap into the rhythm of the earth, maybe to her breath, whatever that might feel like to you? Maybe it is a rise and a fall. Maybe it is the wind or the breeze. However it occurs to you, just notice the rhythm, the breath, that movement of the earth right now. A couple of sessions ago, we focused on our relationship with other elements like the wind. And so just allow yourself to notice where the air, like the quality of the air this morning, whether it's strong and intense where you are, or maybe it's a bit more gentle and you really have to feel into your body and your sensation to feel the air on your skin right now. But just connect with that relationship with yourself and the breath of the earth. Beautiful. So the next moment, we'll gently open our eyes and just allow your gaze to fall on something that's somewhere between 20 to 40 feet away. Some of you may have to look a little bit further, and that's okay. But just find one point, something that's stationary that you can focus your gaze on. And then as you focus your gaze on that one point, slowly and methodically start to move out. So as if you're drawing a spiral, you're starting in the center and you're drawing a spiral that goes out further and further and further and further, kind of like that old school like hypnosis kind of thing. But just imagine that expanding. It's more your vision that we're focusing on right now, and you're just going to expand your vision, moving further and further and further out from that point, but without moving your eyes from that actual point. Is there an area that you may not have stretched into just yet? Maybe you're really looking right and left. You're stretching in both of those directions, but maybe you've forgotten about above and below, or to the right corner and the left corner. So let your eyes really stretch in all directions, allowing your vision to get nice and soft right now. Beautiful. And just start to take notice, take stock of the movements that are occurring. Noticing who's talking out there more with their motion, who has some expression that they're communicating through their movement or motion. Beautiful. So even though today we're going to be focusing on our ears and the sounds we're hearing, you can also always come back to this state of looking at the world, owl eyes or softened vision, as a way to calm yourself, bring yourself into a grounded place, and just tap back into the world through sight. Now, because we're going to be tapping into sound today, you may also opt to have your eyes closed. Some people prefer to do that when they're listening. So whichever one you prefer to do today, it doesn't matter. But now we're going to shift our attention to our ears. And just let yourself take in all the different sounds that are around you in this moment. Just notice who's present, who's in the area around you, who are your friends. Nice. And just start to notice some of the voices out there. Maybe it's the voice of the wind. Maybe it's the voice of a robin, whoever it may be. Just start to notice some of the players, some of the neighbors that share your space with you right now. And again, it's okay if you don't know who they are. Maybe you just recognize a particular song or call and it's familiar. You can have your own name for it. And so now what I'd like you to do, or invite you to do, is to reach out into the landscape and find one quality of the vocalizations that you're hearing right now. And see if you can find a name or a word to identify that quality. It might take a moment or two to sit with that particular song or call. And if you're inside, if for some reason you're not hearing any bird calls, you can listen to the barking of a dog or a machine running. Those are all fine because they all have vocal qualities to them, or auditory qualities, I should say. So once you've, and I'll give you guys some time to do this, but once you've done that, once you've named that quality, then what you're going to do is you're going to listen on the landscape and see where else you can find just this one quality. So if it, let's say it's scratchy, a scratchy quality, you're going to listen on the landscape for where else and who else has a scratchy quality to their sound. And then we'll just stay with that one quality right now for a good couple of minutes. So go ahead and let yourself find that quality and then start to explore it on the landscape. And at least once through your exploration with each sound, with each quality, as we move through different ones, do your best to see if you can find a human made sound that shares that quality. So we are mostly listening for natural sounds, for bird sounds, but also try to see if there's a human, at least once during your exploration of it, if there's a human made sound that has the same quality. Good work, everybody. All right, so now what you want to do is listen on the landscape for a quality. It'll be most easy if you find a quality that's quite different from the one you were just listening to. So you don't have to test yourself too hard this morning. So listen now for a quality that's quite different from the one you were hearing before. And the process would be to identify that. So name it first, whatever you want to name it, doesn't matter. And then reach out onto the landscape and find where else that quality exists. Okay, good job. So now we'll shift to another quality. And this time you could find something that maybe has a couple parts to it, or is it different in some way than the first two? So think about the first one you had and the second one, and then find a third one, something that's unique from those two in some special way. All right, good work, everybody. So take the next moment or two and offer in your own way a blessing or gratitude to all those ones that you connected with this morning, those ones that you built some sort of relationship with. Can you guys hear that? All right, that's going to play into my story in just a little bit. Um, anyway, I'd love to hear. Yeah, so first of all, just want to say thank you for coming and joining us this morning. It was really wonderful to hang out with everyone. If you need to head out, thank you. We'll see you next time. But please stay for our chat. Everyone is welcome. If you do want to share, just take yourself off of, let's want to see your faces. It's great to talk to a face, but you don't have to share. You can always just listen in if you want to. That's always optional. So who would like to share their experience this morning? Yeah, Della, go for it.
Okay, you can probably hear in the background. There's a chainsaw going next door. So, you know, some days you just have to embrace it.
Like
So,
because Cheryl's not here now, you're the one taking over for like every time that, that would happen to Julia too, right?
it's
Okay.
raining, the chainsaws are going, and I hear scrub jay, and I think, that's kind of like the chainsaw. So that was my experience this morning.
Oh, that's so cool. And also what a fun sort of like nice way to connect with a chainsaw, you know? It's like, oh, you can think of it as a scrub day now.
Well, and the blessing is that if they take down these old trees, they won't fall on the houses when
Yeah.
January storms come along. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Good
So
call.
that's a blessing.
Yeah. Are they on your property or on the neighbor's
No,
property?
in the neighborhood.
Neighborhood. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Nice. Good job, Della. Thanks. Who else would like to share? Yeah, Julia, please.
Well, I also had a saw. This one is probably a carpenter, what we call a buzz saw, just a carpenter's saw. And also, and so it was consistent, no variation in the pitch or anything. And I was surprised when you said, put a quality to that. I could only think of buzz. And I think that's because I'm wondering if because we have certain words that are attached as descriptions to certain things, that's the way that's the word we use, at the same, then intermittently big plane would go over, and that also is a consistent, engine kind of sound. And then in contrasting, there was a robin singing, and it has these two pitches. It goes, and it has a pattern, and then it'll repeat that pattern, in a bit. So in contrast, um, what I know what I noticed was in between, I have the little streams here off my deck, and so those keep going. Those are not intermittent. They keep going, but there's a variation in pitch in those. And so it's kind of in between those things. And then there's the smaller planes. We have propeller planes that go over because there's another airport for smaller planes. And so I thought, aha, there's a difference in the sound between the planes. but theirs is just consistent. And how much more interesting it is because the birds have spaces and patterns and different qualities and not just the same drone all the time.
Yeah, and you know what gets me, thank you for all of that. That's really incredible. What it got me to think about or kind of cued my mind to bring up was that often in nature, when there is a problem, when the bird is alarming, for instance, or upset, it could also be just like a juvenile begging, but that's an upset sound. It's a consistent sound. It's just sort of like this monotonous thing that just keeps going and going and going and going and going. And you know, and then I'm thinking like, or like a particular bird alarm where it's just like, but I guess that does that there is a break in it. There is a break in that, but um, I don't know. I feel like there are some alarms out there, like a squirrel alarm is a good example where it's just like pew 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 pew. Pew. It just keeps going and going and going and going and going, and so those more like monotonous sounds are often the alarm sounds in nature. And I had never thought about that before, that some of our human made sounds have that like drone quality to it, that monotonous, like no changing of pitch, continuous sound. And I just wonder what over years like our bodies do to adjust to that, you know, if there's an association in that way. We've learned, it's sort of like a learned response that like a plane going overhead isn't an emergency unless it is, you know. And yeah, I don't know. It's just a thought that popped to my mind. It may or may not have any validity to it, but just something that came up when you were sharing that.
Well, it's just you made me think of the when the helicopters go over, they're flying someone to the hospital, or it's a police, but usually it's not that.
Interesting, really interesting. Who else would
Now,
like to
I
share?
have a different reaction to that because
Yes,
I think, oh, someone's getting help,
help.
or
Yeah,
help be with you, send them a message for
yeah,
help.
yeah. We can always turn it around, you know, make something beautiful out of it. Yeah. Sweet. Who else would like to share? Yeah, Gabrielle, please.
Um, it's kind of a gray, windy day, and we've just had a heat wave. So I was really surprised when I came out in the balcony and went, "Whoa, where'd the sun go?" Um, and the first sound was I have these two different kinds of wind chimes, and these were bamboo wind chimes. And the sound I would call nostalgic because it reminds me of Bali and the rice paddies and all the sounds of bamboo. So I had this really interesting bond with the wind suddenly, in terms of that sound. And then the second sound was I had my cat on the balcony with me, and a crow came in and just let him have it. So that was definitely alarm, aggression, and it didn't last very long. Just you know, uh, but it was interesting. And at the same time, I have a new neighbor who has a little dog, and she came out and was kind of reprimanding the dog. It was very similar sound to the crow, which made me laugh.
So how would
And
what's a word you could find to describe the quality of the crow or your neighbor's voice?
well, it was alarm and angry and
That's more like
kind of raspy.
there we
Yeah.
go, raspy. Yeah, because the alarm and angry is kind of more like emotional, but the quality is that piece of like, yeah, so raspy. Okay, nice.
Yeah. And then oh, I've forgotten what the third sound was. It's like anyway, those really stood out for me. And I especially loved listening to what the wind does.
Yeah, it sounds like there was a really beautiful connection with you and the wind this morning.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
nostalgic one. Yeah. Yeah. Lovely, Gabrielle. Thank you. Who else would like to share their experience? Well, I can go. So the bird that you heard singing, which at the end came up right over here on the wire, which is so cool because I had heard this high pitched sound. It was like almost like a seat call, almost kind of like that high. Um, and I thought, okay, that's my next sound, like a high pitched sound. So I was listening on the landscape for high pitched sounds. And I don't know if I describe it as sharp, but it was definitely high, I wouldn't even say loud. It was just like a high sound. And then all of a sudden I heard this bird that reminded me of a cardinal do its cardinal song, but there was another high pitched sound in there. And I thought, I've never heard that before. And then it started singing, and but then I could really I could separate the high pitch from the like, I don't even know if I get that. No, that's not a card. I'm doing like a squirrel alarm now, but the cardinal kind of has like a squirrel alarm quality to it, like pew, pew, pew sometimes. Um, but it was like the cardinal call, but it had this high pitched quality to it. But I separated it. And at one point, I actually thought they were two different birds. I was like, oh no, it's not the cardinal. It's the cardinal and another bird, but they're doing it like overlaid on each other. And then I wondered if it was like a mate, because I've heard that with like the red-winged blackbirds, that the male will sing and like a fraction of a second later the female sings, and because they overlap so closely, a lot of people used to think it was one song, that was the male song. But then they actually started to identify and realize that there are actually two birds in there. There's a male and a female, but because they were so beautifully tied together, it sounds like it's in unison. um, that was my last sound I was listening to. So at the very end, I was like, we were about to end, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I have to figure this out. Like, is it two birds? Is it one bird? Is it two birds? Is it one bird? And then luckily, so sweet, this bird came up onto the wire and I could watch it do both sounds. So it's that ability to use the syrinx to do two sounds at one time. And I thought, how cool. It was like two very distinct sounds, like a high pitched sound and then this other like pew pew kind of thing at the same time in unison. And it was like wild to watch it come out of the bird, like to have two different distinct sounds come out at the same exact time. And I don't know if I would have believed it, because I really don't know that I've heard that quality in a Cardinal song before. It was really unique. If I hadn't seen him sitting right there. And I also have it, I actually got like Merlin out just to record it so that I could like, make sure I captured it to remember it. And yeah, so I have a recording of it, which is nice. But it was so cool because I also don't know if I would have really noticed that if we weren't doing what we were doing this morning. If I hadn't pinpointed that particular sound, I might have just heard the cardinal sing and just been like, yeah, cardinal singing. There, he's singing right now. But, and again, it might be sometimes when you get really close to a bird, you can hear sounds that you don't really hear otherwise. Like, I'm not really hearing it in his sound over here right now, but because it was like right the trees are very close right here, but it was like in a tree very, very close. I thought, oh, maybe that's why I'm hearing it in a time when I normally don't hear those subtle distinctions, or maybe it's just unique. Maybe it's just a unique cardinal and singing his own song, his own tune. All right, cool. Who else would like to share? Yeah, Anne-Marie, please.
Well, my first one, I was listening to a real rattly sound, which was my house wren. And it was so different because then the robin was singing in the woods, which was nice and clear and more melodic. And then the third sound, I had buzzes because there were insects around me. But then the hummingbird came to the feeder, which is right next to me, which was the wings sounded buzzy like the insects, but with this extra little peep peep that it does. So there were a lot of different qualities going on, which thank goodness the mockingbird was deciding to be somewhat quiet at that moment, so I could hear other things besides them. But that would have been a nice, very strong, clear sound too. So, but yeah, they're quite boisterous out here today.
Yeah, and that's interesting to think about that, like the mockingbird makes a lot of sounds, but there's a lot of sounds it doesn't make, a lot of qualities it doesn't exude, right? Like, I don't know that have I heard it be buzzy? I don't know. You know, that'd be something interesting to think about for those of you who have mockingbirds around. I think that's another sound that we often just get used to hearing. It's like, oh, that's the mockingbird singing. But how many qualities does the mockingbird actually have? You know, it has lots of different sounds and or different vocalizations it will make, but like how much variety is there really in those vocalizations other than like the rhythm or the pattern of them, but the quality of them? Is there a lot of variation in the quality of the mockingbird song? So that'd be a fun one for all of you who have mockingbirds in your area to play with that and sort
I
of
hear
explore
more
that.
with the catbird could give me a buzz, I think, as opposed to, I'm not sure if I've heard a true buzz from the mockingbird, but that's something to do a quest with.
Exactly. Yeah, a bird quest for you, for any of us. Sweet, Emery. Thank you. Yeah, Julia, go for it.
When the PGA Tour was here in Tulsa, there were uh, traffic police guiding traffic right around the country club there. And on the news, they showed a mockingbird that was imitating the whistles of the police, traffic directors. It was cool. It was fun.
That is awesome. And I love that the news decided to do a little special on it, that they like brought in nature to the conversation. That's so cool. I've always wondered, whenever I go to a new place, I think I've told you guys this before, I always try to see if I can teach the mockingbird a song. So I do the hey baby whistle, like, you know, because I'm like, try and find like something that's kind of unique enough that I know that like it probably wouldn't have picked up from somewhere else. It's kind of like repeat it whenever I go outside, like I'll do, or around here I can do the black cap chickadee because there's no black cap chickadees down here. So I'll do that one. And I was pretty sure that where I was living in South Carolina before and where I worked, I did that every day when I would go to work. And I was pretty sure that it repeated it to me a couple times. I was just like, yeah. But I'm just really curious of like when the mockingbirds learn their songs. Are they learning them like all the time, all year long? Or is there only like a certain time of year when they're really like receiving and taking in and like learning and practicing new vocalizations? Because that's why I was just like, oh, does it even matter? Like if I sing a song now, will it not care, you know, while it's breeding? Maybe it's like during the winter when they learn their songs or take in new calls. And so this was just recently, Julia, that the PGA, no,
It was a few years ago.
do you remember what time of year was that?
Summer.
Summer? Okay.
It was hot. It's always
Yeah. Okay, so summertime, it learned the police whistle sound. That's cool. Sweet. And you got something, yeah.
I must have had one of I have a mockingbird, and I tried to teach mine to say, "Where's George? Where's George?" Because they would follow me on my walk, and they were not singing, didn't sing. But he was there every day and followed me down the lane. And then it's like, do I have two, or is this one in the woods? But I was trying to teach it to say, "Where's George?" Because I'd go, "Where's George? Where's George? Where's George?" But one day he did the cat call whistle. And I thought, now I'm thinking, I wonder if it was one of your birds. got here in Ohio, because he did. I went, but I was trying to teach him to say, "Hey, where's George?" He didn't.
Yeah, so now that cat call whistle is going to be like taught to all mockingbirds, you know, and they're going to start teaching it across the country.
I think it is. I think it is. I'll think of it as the Kristi call now.
Yeah. Hey, baby. That's awesome. Sweet. All right. Anyone else? Stories for the morning? Okay. Well, lovely. I think, and yes, so have a beautiful, beautiful week, everybody. And
are you going to tell us the answer to your mystery?
Oh, yeah. I was hearing a robin alarm this morning, and I looked outside. It didn't sound like really upset, but just like kind of more than mild agitation. It was up. They were definitely upset. Other birds came in, like the mockingbird came in, the house finch came in, the jays did not, the crows did not. Oh, the catbird came in, but nobody else was alarming, just the robin was alarming. And I wonder if you guys have any guesses as to what might have been the source of alarm, given that scenario. Hi, Cindy. Good to see you. It's been a long time. So I'll tell you the scenario again really quick. So basically there was a robin alarm happening this morning in the trees. I should have said that. It was up in the tree. They were alarming in the tree and kind of around the tree. It wasn't intense, but it also wasn't just mild. And other birds came in, but didn't alarm. So the catbird, the mockingbird, the house finch, what else did I say before? They all came in and came into the tree, but they didn't alarm. Jay didn't come, crow didn't come, just the robin was alarmed and upset. What do you think might have been the source of the alarm? This is our, yeah, Kelly, go for it.
I really don't know, but what comes to mind is a snake in a nest.
That's what I was thinking.
Like a
Nice.
robin's nest.
Okay,
That,
so
that was my thought.
a snake in the nest. Yeah, that was something that definitely passed through my mind. Do you think the other birds would be upset as well if a snake was there? What do folks think? Anyone can answer.
Yeah, they get pretty agitated, I think. It probably would have been more agitation.
Yeah, I think that would have, snake is a pretty high level alarm. That's a pretty, like, that's fairly intense. It's danger for everybody. And for everybody's eggs and stuff like that. So, yeah, I thought snake was my first thing because I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see a cat. I couldn't see, well, I won't give away other ones, but like, yeah, I don't think snake. I'm not saying it wasn't, but that's just my first thought was probably not. But good thought, Kelly. Yeah. What else do people think given that scenario? Any ideas? We'll just take 30 more seconds to guess. Yeah, Julia, what do you think?
Squirrel?
Ooh, a squirrel. You know,
Close to the,
okay. So I'll tell you then, a couple days ago, I was up in the mountains in North Carolina, and I was walking really quietly, really slowly, got to this one spot, and the jays were going nuts, freaking out. And I was looking, and I finally saw they were mobbing this squirrel who kept trying to get up a tree. They wouldn't give it any peace. They were just like, bam, 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 freaking out, freaking out, freaking out, freaking out, bam, 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 bam. And it was very intense. So I think when a nest robber comes around, it is a really high intensity alarm. So my guess was probably not a nest robber because the alarm wasn't the, yeah, Amory, what do you think?
I'm not sure if they do this, but maybe cowbird laying an egg in the robin nest.
Ooh, sneaky. I have heard them around here. Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that one, but that is a good possibility. I have one other possibility we can share at the end of the call. But yeah, just thought I would get us started with a little bird language today.
Are you going to tell us the answer to your mystery?
Oh, yeah. So I don't have an answer, but what I was thinking was, what came to my mind was that it might have been like an intra species issue. Like maybe it was another robin that came into this other robin's territory. It wasn't, I don't know. I'm kind of leaning more toward the cowbird idea now that Amory thought, because like usually with robin to robin territorial issues, you'll hear a scuffle. There'll be some kind of scuffle that's going on. But this was like, something's there, it's doing something, everyone's coming in to check it out, and the robins are the ones that are mad, or upset about it. But it wasn't like we're gonna die kind of upset. It was just like, we don't like what's happening. And nobody else was upset. They were all curious. So like, something's going on, we got to check this out. But nobody else was alarming. It was just the robins. So it's now I'm really curious about the whole cowbird thing and how birds respond if they find a cowbird doing that in their nest. Like, Do the cowbirds get scared out? I know they're pretty sneaky about waiting until the host or the host bird leaves. But if they get discovered, you know, when they come back, like, yeah, how do the birds respond? So Julie, I'm glad you brought that up, Amory. That's why I love all working together on these kinds of things. So yeah, I shared it without having an answer. I just got really curious about it though, because it was enough of an alarm to get me to, like, I was inside and I could hear it in the tree across the street. And I thought, let me just look and watch, like, to see the behavior and see who else comes in. And just earlier that morning, the jays had scared away a crow from that same tree, actually. But it was really intense. It was just like, you know, get the heck out of here. And they're mobbing it and yelling at it, and eventually did, like, push it off. So I knew it wasn't something like big or too scary, or else the jays would have come in, you know. So anyway, thanks for asking, Kelly. Thanks for asking for that reminder. Yeah. And thanks everybody for playing. All right, we'll see you next time. Have a beautiful week, everybody. Bye.